See, the thing about purpose that's so powerful, you can be striving for things, but if it's not in line with your purpose, then you're going to experience some of the vanity and they call it the grasping of the wind. There's going to be an emptiness that comes along with it. You have to tap into a certain measure and a cadence of life that is getting in line with your purpose. I can't fully define that for you. Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. I am your host, David Tyree.
It is caught by Tyree. That's a great catch by David Tyree. Oh my God. This ball's thrown and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball player.
Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. It's your host, David Tyree. Super excited. Thank y'all for joining in another week. This is where we go. We're going to get you to your next destination, get you to the next place where you can get great done today. Another solo episode. Hope y'all been tapping in with the previous guests. Just tapping into the wisdom, tapping into the experience. And ultimately, we want to celebrate the process that is going to get us to our next destination of significance. Today, I'm going to tap back into transition. I think this is a never-ending topic, right? Because at some point, you're going to have to move from one place, whether you like it or not. You're going to have to move from one place to the next, right? It's kind of like going from elementary to middle school, right? You just can't stay where you, no matter how wonderful it is, can't stay in high school. You know, just recently celebrated, the Giants had 100 years celebration of football, 100 years of New York football, Giants. And man, I was blessed to be a part of this evening. Honestly, the weight of the evening is hard to take in, right? The weight of the evening was actually not just who was there, LT, Phil Simms, Tom Coughlin, Bill Parcells. Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, some of the weight was who wasn't there. Some of the most celebrated New York Giant football players were not in the building. I had the privilege of not just being in the building, but to be honored with the greatest play in 100 years. Why am I talking about that? Because that play was one of the most significant moments in my life. And when you think about how do you transition from a moment of meaning and impact, how do you go from Super Bowl champion to, hey man, I'm still fighting for a roster spot? So today I'm going to talk about transition from a different light, in light of being able to have attained one of the most significant accomplishments in sports history, and winning a Super Bowl, having a role, scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl, having the greatest play in Super Bowl history. I think it's the greatest play ever. But today I'm going to bring that to a context where you can understand how you can transition from any moment in your life. And it really is rooted around having a plan, right? So I'm going to start with kind of giving you a little bit of, I always like to group things in a way, not necessarily an acronym, but group things in a way where you can kind of have a roadmap to where we want to get to, because I think in life, it's about there's no destiny without a destination, right? There's no destiny without a destination. So there's some place that you have to get to attain something that is actually meaningful. And I really want to focus on transition from that point, because whether we're forced into a transition, whether it's a firing, a graduation, whether it's a decision, right? I'm going to move. I'm going to change. It still requires some things to be in place. And if we don't have a little bit of an understanding of that, when we're forced out, it sucks. I'm going to be honest with you. When you're forced out, it sucks. I was forced out of the NFL. I was prepared for it. It wasn't no like super surprise, but I was forced out. So let's get into this a little bit. Really wanted to set the stage, because I definitely have a lot I want to talk about, especially from the framework of the athlete experience, right? Having the chance to play professional football at the highest level is a dream. You're talking about the 1%. We could talk about the 1% in a lot of different ways. We often talk about the 1% from a wealth gap perspective. The 1% in relation to those who make it to the highest peak pinnacle of their professions, especially in athlete and business. But ultimately, I believe that there's a mentality and a little bit of a recipe that can get all of us to our own 1%. Catch the Moment is really about helping you to understand and reframe success so that you can have fulfillment in whatever pursuit that you're going to be in. You have to define success for yourself according to your goals, but also according to purpose. So here's the recipe for today that's going to help us frame transition. The first P is purpose, right? And I think, purpose is well defined. We could talk about whys and we could talk about stories, but I'm going to start with, this V word that comes out everywhere you go. You have to get a vision for your life that transcends a particular job or a particular title, right? You have to get a vision for your life that transcends jobs or titles, and it has to be aligned with your purpose. See, the thing about purpose that's so powerful, you can be striving for things, but if it's not in line with your purpose, then you're going to experience some of the vanity and they call it the grasping of the wind. There's going to be an emptiness that comes along with it. There's going to be a sense of where there's not the satisfaction that you long for. A lot of people in the sports world, they can remember Tom Brady. He had already won 3 championships at this point in his career, and he had this emptiness. Well, Tom, he went on to win 3 more championships. I can tell you what, if we don't start tapping into true purpose, that's the emptiness that we're going to experience regardless of climbing a mountaintop and still feeling like there's something else to do. You have to define why you're here. You have to tap into a certain measure and a cadence of life that is getting in line with your purpose. I can't fully define that for you. My purpose is very simple. It's loving God, loving people, and making disciples everywhere I go. At the end of the day, I realized that because God gave me a purpose, I have to get in line with that. So the loving him is what gives me the intrinsic purpose. The outward revelation of that is how I get an opportunity to engage with people. And not just what I'm talking, I don't even talk about this all the time on social, but at the end of the day, if I don't get into the weeds of life and duplicate and actually get to the point where I'm making disciples, disciplined followers who are going to glorify God and multiply the efforts that I've been blessed to have in my own life, that's where my purpose lies. So that's the first P is you have to define your purpose to be able to transition well. So as a professional athlete, I'm the best in the world at what I do, right? And no one argues that. But even when you become a professional athlete, there's levels. So me getting into the NFL as a special teams player, I was kind of like the bottom feeder of the NFL, right? Like even the kicker is kind of, he gets his one job, but he gets celebrated when he makes that game-winning kick. Me as a special team player, I was the best special teams player in the league. And it's a weird thing to be the best at something and not be celebrated, to kind of be on the chop block. So I'm like, internally, I had this internal battle with value proposition because I was valued and I was really the best. I was an NFL wide receiver. Yes, I could play at this level, but it was hard to get the validation. But I'm going to tell you what I relished in. You have to learn how to relish the role. So I'm still speaking under the guise of purpose, but I knew my purpose was getting on the field so that I can prove that I have more value than just being a special teams player. And I'm not going to speak about boxes and identity too deeply, but my purpose was being the best player on the field. That's how I got to the NFL. It was, I can't prove that I'm the best unless I'm on the field. So I want y'all to get that part, because of whatever job, whatever role you have as an athlete, you have to know your role. But if you never get in the game, you can't maximize your output, right? You have to understand that whatever deep sense of satisfaction or whatever you're trying to prove in relation to attaining a goal and reaching a dream, you have to get in the game. There's no way to rectify or determine value until you get in the game. So it doesn't matter what I believe about myself until other people are beginning to say the very things about me as I'm saying about myself. Value is determined by what others say about you, not just what you say about yourself. So you have to believe it, but it also has to be validated by others. But you will be miserable if you're not walking in line with purpose. So as an athlete, yes, I was the best. When I got a chance to hoist up that Vince Lombardi trophy, that was as good as life was going to get in that realm. At 5 years in the National Football League, I realized, man, I've been to a Pro Bowl. I was the best special teams player in the NFL. I just won a Super Bowl, and I have the greatest catch in Super Bowl history. That was at 5 years in the league. Now, the reality was I was not a proven wide receiver, but I felt like at that stage in my career, I didn't have anything else to prove. I've been all pro. I've been I'm teammates with Michael Strahan. I've been on a USA Today All Joe team. I didn't really have that much else to prove. I was forgiven. My wife looked good. I'm like, listen, I'm winning in life. So at that stage, the NFL, there was more to pursue, but there wasn't that much more that I felt like I had to prove. And it showed because God knew that when I said it, I was out the league in 2 years. And I felt like that was a crowning moment for me. So how do you transition from hoisting up a Vince Lombardi to what am I going to do next, right? So I had a clear sense of my purpose in the earth as a young man. So, but at the end of the day, what I did not have is what am I going to be the best at? Now that I've been the best in the NFL, what am I going to be the best at? And this is what I spent the next few years of my career, because I didn't have a tailor-made plan transitioning from the NFL to determine what my best is. If you want to transition well, you have to have the next P. You have to have a plan. Many are the plans of a man, but it's the Lord's counsel that will stand. Well, guess what? If you don't have the Lord's counsel, you better have the counsel of wise men. What does that mean? It says, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. In the multitude of counsel, there is safety. That sounds like planning, right? So the next P we have to have is a plan. We have to have a plan. The moment that you get in the NFL, you have to have a plan or work toward the plan to get out. It doesn't matter whether you play for 3, for 5, for 7, or for 15 years. Well, what realm of influence are you in? How long do you plan to be there, right? Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe you want to stay there for 10 years. Well, what's your plan for staying there for 10 years? You have to prove value wherever you go. So if you like an environment and you want to be there, you better show interest, right? What is your plan for staying there? And when I say the plan for staying there, that means you have to have a little bit of a, okay, well, when you get a job, what does it mean? They're hiring you for skills and services. They're saying your skill set fits this role. Here's the title of this role. So you have to know your role and do it well. But you also have to get into the environment and understand that there's a culture that's expected for you to contribute in. Are you just going to do the bare minimum according to your role? I know that's what they're paying you for, but do you see yourself as an integral role in a way where you're not just in the silo. You understand that your role is the bigger part of the whole. That's the team dynamic. You're interested in the outcome. Well, in sport, everybody understands that the outcome is a win. But you have to kind of take this role of discovery, right? And you can go back to the transition toolkit. There has to be a sense of adventure even when you're going about your job. So you have to have a plan in place to remain in a place or to transition into a new role, to transition into a new job, to transition into a new city. There has to be a plan, right? It doesn't have to be a perfect plan, but it does have to be something that is given some thought. Write it down. The next P is, who are the people involved, right? So when you think about transition, you don't want to have to do this thing by yourself. Let me tell you, this overstated idiom that we've all heard. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, take others with you. I'm down for it. My thing is I'm never going to try to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing new under the sun. So the only thing that's going to set you apart is your unique self. Let me help you. That's the reality in the marketplace today. There's no new information out there. There's just something. There has to be a way for you to set apart your unique person, your unique skill set, and your unique delivery. It's you that has to come to the fullness of you to distinguish yourself, to bring a value that only you can contribute. If your fingerprint says that there's only one you, what is it about you that's going to separate yourself? Because if we all have 95% of the same information, What's going to separate you? You have to be able to deliver that confidence. So it takes a purpose, it takes a plan, but now it also takes the people. Who's on your team? Okay, so when I talk about the athlete experience, I kind of, I'll be honest with you, throughout my professional days, I was so locked in on my spiritual formation, I wasn't intentional about cultivating marketplace relationships. And when I say marketplace relationships, it's really about, what do you want to know? What do you want to do? What are you interested in? Well, how do you discover that? You discover that by putting yourself in new environments. Okay, let me help you understand something about new. In the athlete community, especially when you get to collegiate athletes, it's a fishbowl. And in a fishbowl type of environment, you're isolated. You're isolated. It's an amazing environment. It's like the great down under, right? Like, you have to be there to understand how amazing the environment is. But you're cut off from so many other learning environments. So if you're not intentional about getting out the fishbowl and moving yourself into a different environment where you can have a new challenge, new information, because the same thing that made you so dynamic as an athlete, as someone in the tech industry, as someone in the restaurant industry, that's what made you dynamic, that focus, that attention, that detail, that discipline. But if you don't get out into another market sector, well, that's terrifying. You're not the expert there. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work, man. You're not the expert there. So you have to get into a new environment to challenge yourself. And let me help you understand, new is difficult. New is difficult, not because you're not intelligent, because it's new. It's unfamiliar. So we have to break the intimidation factor when it comes to a new environment. And guess what? Learning is more difficult at 30 than it is at 15. Learning is far more difficult at 40 than it is at 25. Guess what? We are like the cement, right? When you lay that wet cement, there's formation. There's pliability. So when we talk about transitioning, you have to have pliability. You have to become bendable, right? And that takes other people, because the things that you've learned up to this state have got you to where you've arrived at. The thing that's going to get you to another state, you need other people. And it's kind of like that pizza dough. They're going to beat up that pizza dough a little bit. They're going to shape you. They're going to mold you. They're going to sprinkle a little bit more dough into the batter. Why? Because they're delivering a new product. That new environment, these new people, they're delivering new information so that you can be better served to get you to the next destination. So you have a purpose, you have a plan, and you have to identify the people. Well, let me show you what a team could look like, right? I'll give you the athlete world. The athlete typically comes in as a specialist. I'm a wide receiver. So that's what I do. I catch the football, right? I do some other things like block, but the primary thing I do is catch the football. I block, I run routes, but if I don't catch the football, I'm not a wide receiver. Well, guess what? As a professional, that's my job to go out and do that. So what did I need? Of course, I needed coaches, right? But even in life, what did I need? Well, the traditional athlete has lots of different people on their team. They might have an accountant, a CPA, right? We talk about building a business and building a brand. They have a financial advisor. Athletes didn't know money, right? We know more today. Who else could be on your team? You might actually have a business manager, right? I believe more in the business manager than anything, right? At the end of the day, is how if I have a brand, who's managing my business, who's managing the affairs, and how do I keep them accountable, right? So you have to understand how to put a team together, right? Who else could be a part of your team? A CPA, right? Who's going to maximize the returns on any income, right? How do you keep what you've earned? Right, so these are different people along the way in the athlete community that they have on their team, right? You have the people that are trusted advisors, right? So every person should have some trusted advisors. But the key thing to establish a healthy team is knowing what questions to ask. And you have to do the research to understand what to ask a CPA to understand whether they're qualified. Because there's two things that can debilitate a relationship. One's character or lack of excellence in their expertise, right? Now, character That's a harder thing to judge because you have to know people. Well, your expertise, there's a few things that you should, so whatever you have, the people that you need to identify to get you to that next place in transition, that's how you're going to have to do it. So I'm still talking about this whole transition phase. The shift is terrifying. Let me help you understand. When you're a professional athlete, you are on the mountaintop. What's going on, everybody? This is David Tyree, Super Bowl 42 champion, owner of DT3 Enterprises, where you get the truth, transparency, and transformation. Listen, are you looking to increase your brand's visibility? Are you looking to partner with an iconic platform? Business owners such as myself, look no further. We want to give you a unique opportunity for your business, for your brand to partner with Mr. Helmet Catch himself and catch your next moment. If you're excited about the opportunity, make sure you contact us at davidtyree85.com. Well, my transition, I'm going to get into 3 minutes of story time. When I transitioned, the lack of preparation that I had, the lack of planning that I had, and the few professional resources that I had, I didn't spend a lot of time investing into talking about my next career. I knew I was a pretty good communicator. I was very passionate about God. I knew that I was going to do something in relation to like serving God and serving people. I didn't know what that was. I didn't have it clearly defined, but I was excited about it. But at the time when I transitioned, I said, well, my financial advisor offered me a job, 6 figures. And I didn't know exactly what the job was going to be, but I trusted him. And I'll be honest to say it was a souring experience professionally. Even though he wasn't an evil man, it was an environment that I wasn't prepared for. So I fell off the cliff hard, y'all. I fell off the cliff hard. And even after about 1.5 years of working with him, I started digging into my NFL resources. I reached out to a man named Troy Vincent. He's the top, he's the EVP of the NFL office. He's one of my mentors still to this day. And I did the career transition program at the time, which I believe is called now the Bridge to Success in the NFL. So I got back into a community where I had resources and more trusted advisors that I can relate to. And they provided me with information. They flooded me with perspective about myself, and it was an area of refueling. Everybody needs those kind of ecosystems, environments to transition well because, yes, I fell off the cliff. I was afraid because, I had 5 and 6 children. I was preparing for my 6th child in this transition, and it was terrifying because I didn't have the financial hedge that maybe some other, and I didn't waste my money, to be honest with you. I didn't waste it. That's a whole nother dialogue. But I'm talking about I had money invested. I had money that I was eating off of. So when you go from making $1 million to $100,000, that's not something that people, that's a 90% pay decrease, right? Like, let's just keep it a buck. That's a 90% pay decrease. You have to transition your lifestyle. So I'm talking about my personal transition, but I'm still talking about purpose, plan, and people. So I identified one of the people that was integral about placing me in a position where I could get some of the resources. But let me help you identify the 4th P. Because when you talk about transitioning, you got to be hungry, right? You have to have the resolve to understand that the 4th P is pursuit. All right. So this is where the DNA, the athlete DNA served me extremely well. I had the belief and I knew that whatever environment I belonged. Now, when you're not the best, you lack skills. When I say skills, there's 2 types of skills, hard skills and soft skills. And you have to plan in your transitions to accrue hard skills. Then you become indisposable, right? At the end of the day, the soft skills are what give you the confidence to transition well in any environment. So this is not just speaking to the athletes, it's about a mindset, right? It's about the mindset. When you value people, then you could always position yourself to kind of get the resources, whether it's information, ideas, right? Whether it's a job opportunity, right? So you have to value people. You have to treat people well. Those are soft skills. That's relationship management. That's the EI quotient. But the hard skills are what people are looking for. How do you bring value to my company? How do you bring value to my team? Well, that's what it takes. It's going to take that you beginning to identify what are my hard skills. Well, I'll give you 3 hard skills, right? You have to be able to use applications. And, like at the end of the day, are you Microsoft Office proficient? Can you use the creative suite as a creative, right? Do you have editing skills? Do you have, those are hard skills. Are you a tradesman? Can you build me a house? Can you fix my refrigerator? Because at the end of the day, everybody's looking to solutions for problems, right? You have to bring the solutions in any environment that you go. That's what this is about. This conversation is about bringing clarity so that you can identify where the pain point is in your process so that you can have a problem solved. That's it. That's what I need to do. I need to go back to school to get a skill. I need to take a course to get a skill. Marketing, right? Digital marketing. So many people are doing digital marketing. Why? Because at the end of the day, if no one knows who you are, they'll never understand what you have to offer. That's what marketing is. All right, that's what marketing is. If no one knows who you are, where to find you, you can't solve their problems. So communication is one of my greatest skills. But there's a lot of, let me help you understand what communication. It's not just talking, it's listening, right? So even if communication is a skill that you possess, can you listen as well as you talk? Because if we're communicating and there's no understanding, these are all skills, right? They talk about the 5 levels of listening. Okay, so that means communication is a skill. If you're going to provide solutions, even by way of your communication, you have to be willing to listen as much as you're willing to talk and communicate. So applications are skills, right? Within each ecosystem, every environment has their own trades and applications, but trades are skills. This is the most, every job needs to be looked at as a trade. What is the trade that you bring to your community? So we got purpose, we got a plan, we got people, and you have to have this ferocious pursuit because when you're navigating, you have to have the resolve, the resilience, right? Because you will get resistance. In any transition, there will be the waves and the billows that are coming in your transition. That's what these few years have been about for us in DT3. We're building a legacy. We're building a titan that is going to last forever. So you're going to get resistance when you're moving into a new destination. So you have to have a ferocious pursuit. You have to be in pursuit. So what pursuits means that there's action. There has to be kinetic energy. It can't be a passive pursuit in any time of transition. So and the last P that you have to have is you have to have peace, right? And when I say peace, I want to reshape this peace from the realm of a posture of patience, right? I found this to be very powerful because I'm not very patient. I haven't been a very patient person. When you're results oriented, you want results, right? So patience is it's almost like it's contradictive to results. When you're working, you're looking for results, right? But I can never forget one of my favorite scenes in I think it was Armageddon, right? They land on the wrong part of the rock, right? If you've ever seen this great classic movie, Armageddon, Bruce Willis, they're shooting off to the moon and they land on this part of the rock. They had this perfect plan to save the world. And guess what? They got a time frame to do it, and they got to drill this thing down and drop a nuclear bomb so that they can divide the rock and save the world. Well, guess what? That's how missions are in life. There's a strategy that you have in place, but you have to get to the right place. Well, guess what? The plan went to crap. And here they are at the wrong part of the rock. And they had to have a tremendous pursuit and some patience with this process because they were in the wrong part of the rock. And they had to drill down this daggone thing. With all the resistance, they were in the hardest part of the environment. And they had to have the patience to not kill each other. They had to have the patience to continue with the mission. They had to have the resolve. There were sacrifices that had to be made, right? When I say tremendous sacrifice, the man who was tasked to do the job and build the team, he was the one person that didn't return from the mission, right? And other sacrifices were, but when I'm talking about peace and patience, you have to have peace in the midst of this process. You have to have patience in the midst of this process when it comes to transition. So when I think about me transition out of football, it was that. It was, man, I had to find out who my advocates were. Man, thank God for Troy Vincent. He has me for the rest of his life. Why? Because he made such a powerful contribution to my transition. And he gained an ally for life. I served him, but he served me in a place where I was vulnerable. I was looking for an opportunity to provide value and find my next place of contribution. At that time, in 2012, was the NFL office. 2 years working there. An opportunity is now opened up for me to return to a front office position as the director of player development with the New York Football Giants, which I did up through the 2020. And boom, 2020, the world stops. These transitions come and they go. But this has been a little bit of the recipe. I knew who I was and who I belonged to. That's how I find my path. I was able to define my purpose. I have a vision for my life that transcends any title or any job. So therefore, my peace came from within. Now, I'm going to tell you what. That beautiful woman, Jesus, baby girl want an answer. Baby girl want an answer. And every time at the moment where crisis hits, it's that plan that gives us a little bit more of a comfort. When you go into the huddle, what are you talking about? You talk about the play that you're going to run. That's the plan. So I'm bouncing around with these P's here, right? But you're going to get them all. You want to have a plan in place. So when you talk about building a cohesive life and transitioning well in every stage of life, the athlete journey is very much like falling off a cliff. I'm never going to get the locker room back. But guess what? Life is my locker room. When you have the right people in your life, that's your locker room. That's who you go back with and you can speak plainly. That's what the locker room is. And let me tell you what, we can't tell all the war stories, like the conversations that went on in the locker room. Talk about dudes grinding together, bleeding together, sacrificing together, crazy conversations, crazy shenanigans going on at the club the night before. Not me. Well, my rookie year, I was wild in the street. I was wild in the streets. We ain't there for that today. We're going to get into testimony time another day. But this transition is about helping you see a little bit of a roadmap for how, whether it's the collegiate space, it's the same thing. College sports is the new professional sports. We're talking about name, image, likeness. Now they're getting 5 to 10 bands on the minimal at the Division I level. Yeah, man, name, image, and likeness. Well, why? Because that's where the value has always been. The value has always been in your name. And that's why having a good name is better than silver and gold. Having a good name is better than silver and gold. So if you can keep the integrity of your name, you can always uphold your value. If you can refortify and replenish skill sets and continue to add to skill sets. Why? If you can have a plan. What's your plan, man? I'm going to go get a trade. I'm going to go get another degree, right? That's part of the plan. That's how you're replenishing some of the hard skills. But the soft skills is putting the value on who you're becoming. It's putting the value on others so that you can have those people, that team, right? The soft skills is knowing your purpose, right? Knowing your purpose, having a vision that transcends the title, because title is about function. Title is not about, just your, and trust me, I'm here to be the best. I always want that to be clear. Why? Because from your best flows out of your being. Your best is always flowing from your being. So if you're not giving your best at whatever you do, you're cheating yourself and all those around you, right? And there is no better. Your best can only get better, right? Your best can only get better. And that's what your continuous contribution to being a disciplined one. So that's what this whole thing is about. And I hope this little roadmap of purpose, plan, that's what your best is about. I hope that this roadmap of purpose, plan, people, having a tenacious pursuit, and having that peace and patience within it, that's what's going to get you to your next destination. That's what's going to allow you to conquer the Giants every single day. You ain't going to conquer the New York Football Giants. That's what we do. 100 years in the game. we conquer. We here to conquer. But the giants that oppose us in every single day, the difficulty and the intimidation, that's what I want you to grab hold of. There's intimidation factors when you go into a new land, a new environment. There's giants waiting for you. There's the Goliaths in your life that are waiting for you. And that's how you slay the head of Goliath, by having the plan, knowing that you have a purpose that transcends your previous assignment. That's kind of what this thing is all about. When you understand your purpose, you can tap into the right pursuit. You'll be equipped with the skills that's going to be able to allow you to walk into that new land and conquer those new giants, because new is only intimidating because it's unfamiliar, not because you're not equipped to win. So I want you guys to be dynamic. Whatever you do, take this roadmap, whether you're in college, whether you're a collegiate athlete, whether you're a high school athlete, you're going to move from one place to the next. And how you transition, position yourself with those smooth stones so that you can slay the head of that next giant and continue to get great done. I appreciate y'all. Hope that was valuable. Hope that was concise for every single one of y'all. My journey as an athlete, life is an ongoing transition. So don't feel like you have to have everything figured out today. Just position yourself with the people so that you can have the peace to get to where you're going so that you can get great done. I will see y'all next week. We're going to continue to advance this cause and get great done. Deuces.